All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging with me through that Olark presentation. Now I want to introduce John. So John and I, John, I think we met last year. I feel like we met online last year, um, and have traded so many emails now. I'm not even sure. I've lost count. We talk on a daily basis. John's always active in giving us product feedback as well as feedback from his customers, and he doesn't even work for us, which is to me just a testament to his enthusiasm and his just tenacity when it comes to his job, but also trying to do the best that he can at his job. And what is his job? Well, he's a software sales specialist for a company called buildtools.com. John is the only salesperson at buildtools.com, and he has built up a sales channel now primarily based on using live chat. John works remote, so he sends me pictures from when he's out skiing. But the funny thing is he's actually out there talking to people, chatting with prospects on his mobile phone while he's on the chairlift. Or when he's finished a run, he checks in to see how many new prospects have come in. So it's quite a remarkable system that he has. It works really well for him. Not only does the system and the technology work, I mean, John has 4.5 years here at buildtools.com, but he's got 15 plus years as a salesperson. And I think his attitude towards it is the right attitude. And we'll talk a little bit about that in this presentation too. But the way he approaches interactions, the way he uses technology to enhance those relationships that he has, I think are key in his success and some of the volume and what he's been able to do. So this is an intro that's going on too long. The last thing is John works remote. He's out in Park City, Utah. But he checks in quite often, works after hours quite often. He's a great guy. So welcome, John, to the webinar. John, maybe you can take us through a little bit of your background and how you've come to be in the position where you are now.
You bet. Thanks, Carl. If everybody can hear me, if I'm too loud or too quiet, just chat up Carl there. I hope you gained some new ideas today of how to use live chat in your sales side. I realize many of you are attending here might be in customer service, in IT, support. So this webinar is really just a beginning of a long discussion of chat ideas. So as I was creating the content for this webinar, I was kind of amazed at how sales has evolved in the last 15 years, and it's going to change even more. And that's what gets me going each sales day. Sales to me is really an athletic event. So I've worked for Build Tools for 4.5 years. My primary role is managing the incoming web leads. We sell in England, Canada, Australia, USA, basically 8 time zones. Companies based in Minnesota. I'm in Park City. Demo team is in Chicago, Costa Rica, Minnesota. We're a web-based project management construction software that appeals to a wide cross-section of custom home builders, remodelers, renovators, light commercial, home flippers. So the challenge is this software niche is only about 8 years old, basically replacing MS Project. So our prospects know their pain, but they aren't sure of the solution. So I've been in sales since the 90s. My lucky break came when I met John Ferrara, who was developing Goldmine, the CRM software. He was a 2-man team working out of his apartment in the San Fernando Valley. And he came up to our little company in Santa Barbara and he installed Goldmine. It took him 2 full days to install it. And I'll never forget John at the end of day 2. He's kind of a dramatic guy. He's walking out the door, just like a movie scene. He pauses, looks back, and says to me, and I'm the sales rookie, "John, just fax me the bugs." And me, like an idiot, saying, "John, what's a bug?" So he and I still laugh about that. And he taught me by example that CRM is never ending. So you have to really expect to train every single sales day. And John Ferrara sold Goldmine for $100 million. So he's someone who walks the talk. He's currently the president of Nimble.com, a more social leaning CRM. He was featured in last month's webinar here at Olark, and it's well worth watching for your team. So then I moved to Utah in the early 90s. I lucked into working reservations for a charter airline called Morris Air based in Salt Lake City. I worked for David Needleman, who hired me, and he later became the president of JetBlue. I took up to 141 incoming calls a day. Average talk time for the 58 res agents at the time was 4 minutes, but my IT buddy hacked the system for me, and I got that down to 2 minutes and 50 seconds with simple macros built into my keyboard. I got to hit the top 10 end of the year out of 450 employees. I was promoted into sales. Then I got to pre-open the new cities for Morrisera across the West. So then came the internet revolution, and we may agree, disagree. You might say the internet sales revolution was in full swing by about 2004. I was selling job cost accounting and construction software. It was $8,000 to $30,000. It was a long sale. We were going after 930,000 general contractors. It was a company called Computeries. We were going up against Timberline. Two of us were doing 99 out calls a day, aiming for 2 to 5 construction software demos a week, till the market totally evolved. And we realized after a few years, it was taking 2,000 out calls to get one demo. So let's fast forward a few years. Today's live chat allows me to manage 1 to 14 incoming chatters from anywhere in the world. Thanks to Olark, I can see their lead source, their city, and it can be intense or utterly boring. Now the crazy time starts when you have 1 to 2 hot questions in chat. Those questions need answers to move up the sales ladder. And I have to copy their questions and Skype that to my tech support team to give them exact answers. And I might have 12 other chatters in the tray just sitting there waiting to pop. So Olark's live support chat team has endlessly tweaked my shortcuts. We test together. They recommend typing a simple statement, and it's, "I'm here if you have questions, comma, John Dubach." It sounds so simple, but it works so well. It works way better than subbing in your email address. It can really alert an incoming chat that you're a human being. So as the individual chat lead heats up, the prospect can literally demand a live demo now. They're in total control as they surf your site. I would compare live chat almost to fishing. I found a happy medium of sanity by comparing Olark's live chat to any kind of fishing. And depending on your age, fishing can range from heart-stopping excitement as a 9-year-old, or as an adult, it's counting clouds and swatting flies. I don't have the patience to fish. My kids do. And I study their patience, whether ice fishing, fly fishing, pontoon boat fishing. It really comes down to the preparation. If you don't have the right gear and mentality, you won't be eating fish chowder. So like fishing, with live chat, you need to sit in the boat, chum those fish, learn the patience. Do not throw a stick of dynamite on those fish and meet your quota. I turn on my Olark the minute I wake up. My head's still on the pillow. I use Exabber Mobile for my Android Nexus 5X phone. And I'm just laying there, just waking up. It's usually pretty quiet. Europe's already awake. East Coast is starting to wake up. A lot of the contractors I deal with are up at 4 a.m. So they're ready to go. And 12 hours later, I'm talking to Australia, New Zealand. And the only drawback is you have very little control of how fast the leads arrive. You could hit up to 12 leads in just seconds, really, and you've got to start replying. But what happens when you send a timed mass email out for a dawn opening? So as you wake up, it might hit you that you scheduled an early morning outgoing email to your hot list. Hopefully you can see the hits coming into your website. I've sent 300,000 emails in 4 years with a 19 to 45% open ratio. And I noticed my mass email life can peak in about 20 minutes. The interested parties hit it. Others may wait 3 days to open the same email. But the majority of those emails can hit my website, an excellent chance to welcome that fish with an educational morsel and a simple, "Hi, I'm here." So the sales approach is very different in chat versus email versus phone. We've all done the phone. It's simple. You listen, you take notes, you type fast into your CRM, you maybe visit their site as they talk, you gain some info that makes you stand out. Guaranteed, they are going to be interrupted by another call, a crisis. So you got to make it smart and fast on the phone. I really assume when someone calls me or chats, it's somewhere between 2 scenarios. They're either eating lunch in line at Wendy's or they're boarding a flight. It's usually just a couple questions, but that range is huge and it just evolves weekly. So some people have questions like, does live chat fit into any sales funnel? It does, whether you use it full or part-time. You can't study your current and future market without live chat. Incoming emails also changing. I make it a habit of calling back in 19 seconds of getting an email lead. It populates my CRM. I read the lead and I dial as I'm researching their website, their Facebook, anything that applies. I don't care if someone says, oh, you called me back too fast. We have a 3-minute and 10-second video that's great on our website. And I say, I'll wait. And I'll let you watch the video if you want. Because really, you're saying, you're on my porch. You rang the bell. I'm here. What is it you want? And that's how fast it moves. I think it comes back to the prospects are very selfish. They're very self-centered. They think that since they're interested, they're the only person on the planet Earth, which is fine, because chat gives them that excellent impression of being the only one out there. So don't ever lose that sales advantage of one-on-one in live chat. Focus on the one, not the mass of potential leads on your site. With live chat, you might get the email lead form. They stay on chat. Many chatters tend to open a session. Then the chatters, they leave. They answer their own phone. They get distracted. You're wondering what's going on. So now you have their email, their name, their phone from the web to lead form, but they're still live in chat. So you have to punt. Thanks to Olark, I think I can tell what links they visited, and that's socks on fire time. One wrong chat move, one late reply, and they think you're a bot, and they're gone. If you still don't know who you're dealing with, you're not hearing their voice. If you reply and focus totally on them with sincere answers, you win. Some people talk about trust in chat and how do you build that? And aiming for trust, that should be the practice goal on every single chat. That's why you must print out the chat transcripts with your team and you review the good and bad chats. You test during any average chat day, different responses to prospects. Chat can be 2 minutes. You get a sense they're impatient, so you go for it. You can say, I can call you right now. Or the chat can stretch for 29 minutes and they wear out your little fingers with questions easily answered in a live conversation or a demo, but they're not ready. I've tested some chatters that seem to be lagging with the open-ended question of, what type of contractor are you? Some smarty pants chatters will respond with, a good one. So the second time visitors, that's go time. That's where you make them feel very special. Be calm, get your hand off the dynamite, be transparent if you have to. Ask them who they've shopped. You can increase your sales via live chat if you never close it during key business hours unless you have a very good reason. You may never get that web lead again. And I challenge you to open your chat hours a few hours beyond your business hours. You might be surprised who's knocking on your website trying to give you money. Put it on your mobile like I do. On a Saturday, contractors are kicking back at noon and maybe I'm skiing. It's proven the first-time visitors are there to learn about the product. They're surfing about to validate why they arrived. It just takes a second to even talk into your iOS or Android phone and say, I'm here. You can also accept the fact that live chat is used today by customers, prospects, and vendors. A harried customer visit your site for usually 2 questions. In our case, they say, how do I log in? I'm new here. And you ask their customer name. That stalls them for a second. Then hit them with the stock shortcut explaining they've reached the sales chat line by mistake. Here's your direct access for support. Oh, and just for you, I've Skyped the support team to expect your email and your call. They calm down. Just takes a second on your part to prioritize existing customers. Live chat is moving faster each day as chat visitors are comfortable using their phones to get answers. So check out your mobile-ready website, make room for Olark, test what your chat box looks like, even down to the colors. People talk about the sales ROI all the time, and a huge aha at Build Tools. After 22,000 chats in 22 months, our sales are moving up the sales ladder without doing a 1-hour-long demo. It could be a combination of maybe our instant sign-up button on the website, maybe our website builds trust, or there's multiple visits with some live chat interaction. the time cost savings of not doing a 1 hour demo, then chasing the sale for an entire month is priceless. There was a question about, what clues do you look for that might indicate somebody's ready to make a purchase? This is a not so minor art form. Yes, you ask for the sale. In our case, would you like a call or would you like to schedule a demo? You're always closing all the time in live chat. Most chat visitors are not going to go into detail of who else they've shopped. They might be asking leading questions like, does your software do this or does it do that? So those are the clues that surface if you print the chats on a random basis. That's all I've got, Carl, really.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. Before we recap and talk about key takeaways, I had some questions as we were going through that, because I know you covered a lot of ground. And I want to ask you, maybe get into some specifics here on how this all works. So let's see. And let me just remind everybody too, you can ask questions via chat. So if you find the chat button in your Zoom dashboard, feel free to write in the chat if you have any questions for John as we go along. John, I'll start with a question from Scott, who's on chat right now. He says, what's the best way to not sound like a bot?
You just give sincere answers. They're very real. They're short, but they're quick. When you go back quick, people realize you have a communication starting.
John, do you favor like capitalization and good grammar over speed?
Yes, you got to have both.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good question. Good question, Scott. I think it is getting harder and harder to sort of make people understand that it's not all automated behind chat. But to John's point, the faster the answer comes back and the more human you are as the interaction goes on, I think people understand that. John, you talk a little bit about your sales ladder. How sales move up the sales ladder.
Right.
When you say sales ladder, maybe I'm not like a true salesperson. So what do you mean by sales ladder? Is that sort of like the sales funnel we hear so much about?
Right. Well, people nowadays are hitting your website. If you have a web to lead form, that's the bottom rung. The average prospect can go up and down your sales ladder in maybe 20 minutes or 3 years. And that's where you have to really understand your market and keep in touch with people. Be ready when they come back.
Got it. Do you have a sense, John, how long it takes you to respond to a chat?
It's about 19 seconds.
19 seconds, that's pretty good. Garrett, you were asking how long should you wait before initiating chat. So I think, so Garrett is asking a question I wanted to ask too. I know, John, we've talked about in the past proactively reaching out to customers who are on your site. And I think you do a bit of that. Is that correct?
I do. It really depends. If they're zooming through your site, on the nice thing about Olark on the right-hand side, you can see if they're hitting the pricing, going back and forth. Some people do, some people don't. Really.
But where
engage too.
Oh, sorry. Say that again.
They may engage because basically you're intercepting, and if they want to engage, they will. That's the second time visitor.
I see. Are you doing anything within the platform to identify second-time visitors? How can you tell?
It says return visitor, so that's great.
You have that set up. Okay.
You say welcome back, really, and they love it.
John, do you have a sense of what percentage of visitors you proactively chat?
No.
Well, let's say every hour, how many prospects do you feel like you reach out to?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I can look at a report in Olark, basically business hours. I think it's different for every single company, depending on what time zone you're in. I average about anywhere from 60 to 130 midweek, and then maybe 20 on the weekend, 20, 30 on the weekend.
Got it. But of those, how many of those are you reaching out to the customer before they ever start chatting?
I reach every single one of them.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's see here. Jay Slay asks, do you think it's effective to reach out to people that are on your website again after an automatic greeting has already alerted? So first question for you, John, is are you using any automatic greetings on buildtools.com?
I do, and that's where I work with the Olark people. Even this morning, somebody said, this is annoying, and right away you can go to the Olark support people and say, hey, here's a chat transcript. let's check it. What's going on with my settings? They're great about that.
Okay. And then do you ever have an instance though where someone, where that automatic greeter fires a message to somebody and then maybe they don't respond, so you decide to pick it up manually?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm watching, uh, I'm watching for the percentage of people that engage. Many people do not.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm looking at this question from Jay Slade too about reaching out to people after an automatic greeter.
Mm,
Um, I think so. We've actually written some articles about this, Jay Slay, where we talk a little bit about the automatic greeter coming across as maybe something that's unexpected, having a message that's maybe unexpected or eye catching. So John talked a little bit about having something really simple and straightforward. Hi, if you have any questions, I'm here. This is my name. But we've also seen people run experiments where they maybe run a PPC ad agency, and on their website they're having an automated greeter that talks about something that says like, did you see the recent change in AdWords? So it's something maybe unexpected, or it seems it's not that sort of like, hi, how are you? And when it's unexpected and it kind of grabs their attention, we've seen the efficacy of that automated greeter improve. I haven't really looked that closely though at manually coming in over the top of an automated greeting to see if it improves efficacy or response rate. It'd be an interesting it would be interesting to try. I think a lot of times you have to be careful with automated greeters because they're automated, people can kind of tell that, and that usually is a signal. If they don't respond, they're not looking to chat or they don't need help. So another message in that may just be bothersome. They may have actually closed the chat tab.
I agree.
Yeah, and we had a comment here in chat too. You see some low chat engagement on mobile device. Oh, okay, this is another question. Let's come back to that real quick. Sorry, because we had a question, and let's see, which one do we want to go to next? So John, this was a question from the audience and from Policy Medical. They ask, do you recommend having visitors fill out a mandatory form, name and email to initiate a chat? So how do you have the pre-chat survey enabled?
We don't have a gateway. We don't have a barrier. We took down the barrier even to look at the 3-minute and 10-second video, and it works better. I think it's just an evolution. People don't have the time. If they're highly interested, they'll fill out a simple form. They're in control, really. Kind of depends on your market, your people, and the fact that many people have not even used live chat yet. They don't know what it is. So they're kind of surprised, and they're pleasantly surprised that you're there.
Right. Do you remember what your chat rate, response rate was before you took out the mandatory gate, or did you ever have the mandatory gate installed?
The gate was separate. It was taken down long before we had chat.
Got it.
People were just not going into what they want to watch the video. They shouldn't have to fill out a form just to watch the video.
Yeah, sure. Right.
That's all.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen that too. When we took the pre-chat survey off of our chat a few years ago, the number of chats we get just increased pretty significantly. I know that poses an issue though for some people who are looking at chat as a lead gen system, right? So that's actually, so Sarah asks a good question that's kind of related to that. So John, like if you're talking to a prospective customer or you're answering their questions, how do you get their email or their phone number so that you can follow up with them without sounding like too aggressive, right?
I give them the option. I say, do you want to email me? And then, if they say yes or no, I say, what is your email? Really, it's just a human back and forth. They'll tell you right up front.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think sometimes the offer of your email first makes it seem like, gosh, well, I put myself out there. I'm willing to like let whoever you are email me. And sometimes that openness will kind of soften that ask a little bit.
I agree.
Sometimes you can even just throw in some sort of reassuring comment like, look, we promise not to spam you. We'll only use this for good, not evil, something like that. But I understand there's a lot of small business owners who are using chat, and that's vital, right? The follow-up is vital for them in closing sales. Sarah, I would say just kind of knowing your audience and trying to experiment with some different ways of asking. If you don't want to use pre-chat survey, obviously if you have pre-chat survey enabled in Olark, then you're able to get their name and email before the conversation even starts. But that may limit the number of chats you get. So if you're looking for chat volume, take the pre-chat survey off, and then you just have to work your salesperson magic to get their contact information for a follow-up.
Correct.
Let's see. So this is a good question, and John, you could probably talk to this. And everyone, thanks for your questions. I'm trying to work through all of them. We're kind of going out of order, but I promise I've got them written down, and we'll try to get to them. So there was a question that came in that says, we see low chat engagement from people who are on their mobile device. Do you get a sense of whether if someone's chatting to you, they stick around longer if they're on their mobile device? John, have you looked at that at all?
I think that question is valid. People are very quick on their phone. They just get interrupted. They're driving. They're standing in line somewhere. They figure, you know what? I'm going to look on the website. Boom. They just go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just your first time visitor. You might as well let them just surf around. The second time, they'll come in and they'll engage. And more importantly, just say, you want me to call you right now? They'll give you the number right there.
Sure. Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, they're on their mobile device, and if it's a nuanced question that requires a response that's a little bit longer, it may be easier to just say, "Hey, we're on mobile right now. Why don't I just give you a quick call and talk you through it?"
Yeah.
I will say too. I mean, we just redid our mobile design last year, and it's been hard to find good examples of people that do chat on mobile. I think on a handheld device, it's just there's only so much real estate that you can work with. And usually, to your point, John, when you're chatting with a business, you're on the go. You're in line at the grocery store. You're walking around somewhere, and so you're not trying to have a long conversation with somebody. You're just trying to ask one, maybe two simple questions.
That's right.
So I think it's just the nature of the mobile device that keeps that sort of engagement low. They know they just need a quick transactional question answered.
Yes.
Right. Desktop, they're sitting in a chair. They're comfortable. They can sit and talk for a while. Keith, you had a question about Infusionsoft integrations. Not yet, but it's on our radar. If you want to email me, I'd be happy to talk more about where in the future we see that coming down. We've got a bunch of integration partners lined up for this year and new integrations that we're going to be rolling out over the next few months. So drop me a line. I'd be happy to talk more about that. Also, one other question from one, I forget what the name was, but they were just saying they're new to Olark. Ed, and welcome. Appreciate you giving us a shot. You asked about types of reporting. Absolutely. If you go into your dashboard, there should be a reports tab that's going to show you what your busiest days are, what your busiest hours are. I think that's also important for sales, right? So John, you can maybe even talk to this, but studying your data that's in your reports and looking at times when you're busiest, when you're getting the most chats, should indicate to you that those are times when you want to have more people on, or maybe you want to just focus your efforts. So if you're a small business owner and you're multitasking, maybe you only turn it on for a certain number of hours during the day, and then you could turn it off and attend to the shop while you're not on chat. But John, do you look at how often are you in your reports looking at how busy your busy times and that sort of thing?
Almost every day. It's a really nice graph where you can see Monday through Saturday. You can go back and do a custom report. It's amazing, really.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how did you determine that a Saturday afternoon shift might do you some good or might result in some increased conversions? Was that data driven, or was that just your tenacity as a salesperson?
I found out that a lot of these guys are so busy during the week. That's the problem. They're too busy. So they talk very choppy. We don't get the demo done. And I experimented starting about a year ago just to call them at noon on a Saturday in their time zone. They're cracking open a beer, having a good time. They're relaxed, and we have a great conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they get real chatty if they're sitting around having a beer, talking to you on chat. That's funny.
Yeah, they watch the ball game and, and they're happy, but they came to me, so I'm going to bug them,
Totally. Tim has a great question here that we'll get to in just one second. But John, I wanted to ask you about your CRM setup. So I think part of sales success, having a CRM integrated with your customer communication channels is vital. And
Absolutely.
You've told me you use Salesforce. Can you just talk a little bit about how you're using it, like how the information gets into that platform, and then how often you're in it, and what are you doing with that data once it's in there?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in any CRM, because you'll quickly find out the drawbacks of a poor CRM. You have a web delete form on your website, typically, and that populates your CRM. That saves you a lot of mistakes. You can dial, if the person's not there, you can send an email right away. That starts the whole process. That may go for a year. So pick a CRM, test out 2 or 3. If you want to get social, great. If it doesn't apply, it doesn't matter, really. It comes down to speed and giving the prospect what they want, not what you want to sell them in features and benefits.
That's fair.
It's a great experiment. I was sending emails out to people with links and other stuff and realizing they don't even read it. They read the first 2 lines and they just respond to that.
Gosh, isn't that the case? I think we're all a little overloaded with email these days. It's like getting through 2 or 3 lines is a Herculean effort at some points. Timothy asked a question here. Should we ever consider instigating a chat with a visitor based on their page views? So I guess, I think you talked about this a little bit, John, but how closely are you watching people on your site? And do you then, look at where they've gone, their page history on your site, and then make a decision, like reach out to them and start chatting?
I definitely do. I mean, even if they're coming in from Facebook, they're leaving very quickly, it seems. That's a test. If they sit there for 10, 12 minutes, they're surfing pretty far, but you can't read too much into it. You literally have to work, and you have to ask the question, how can I help you?
Yeah. Timothy, I think to that point too, within our dashboard, you have targeted chat rules. If you're not using Olark, this is kind of a standard feature, is these automated rules. And you can program automated rules to say, if this visitor visits 3 pages on my website, then I should serve them an automatic message. And I'd say that's a good practice. I think when maybe 3 or 4 pages on your website, usually indicates that someone's browsing. They've indicated then they're somewhat interested in what you have to offer, but they're having a look around and they maybe need some help or some direction on where to go. Same thing, you can do that based on time, right? So maybe somebody sits on your checkout page for more than 30 seconds. That might indicate that they've got one last question they need answered before they check out. And you can jump in with something that's really specific to where they are and what they've done. And that's a recommended practice on our end. Again, you kind of have to know your customer base and whether or not they're going to be comfortable with that. But we'd recommend it. And we can certainly help you set up those rules. Sarah has a great question. Sarah from Brooklyn. She says, John, do you use chat ratings? John, are you looking at chat ratings? Do you send like those ratings after the chat ends?
I don't.
Okay. Any particular reason?
I just haven't tested it yet. Really, with 130 chats a day,
it's a lot of ratings.
I'm busy. That's a lot of ratings.
Well, and I think too, John, you're a one-person sales team on chat, correct?
Correct.
So you mentioned printing out chat transcripts to review those with yourself and with your team too. So your process for rating your chats is slightly different from trying to rely on what the actual person says after the conversation.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm just excited that, our website is open 24/7. They can hit it at any time and they're welcome to come back. So you really don't want to knock them out at the start. You want to just let them surf around.
Yeah. Yep. Sarah, I will say, if you have those enabled, we give you a little pie chart that shows you which chats are good and which chats need review. And sometimes getting that overview of which chats need review help you click in and see like, well, what happened here that this customer didn't have a good experience. And to me, that seems like it would just make it easier for you to learn from missteps and not make those missteps in the future. But again, if you're just a single person team on chat, you might not need chat ratings because you have a good sense already of how you're doing and how you're performing. So let's see what we got here. A couple more questions coming in. These are great questions, everybody. We're gonna keep this line open for another 6, 7, 8 minutes. So please do use your chat to ask more questions if you'd like. Actually, one thing real quick before we get into these other questions, I'm just going to flip down to this last slide. So this is John's email. If you do have to run, if you don't have any questions for us, but you want to maybe follow up with John afterwards, you should be able to see on the screen now his email address. You could contact him, maybe even take a quick look at the article that he wrote for us a little while back. Talks more about a day in the life of a salesperson, him. But if you do have to run, this is how you contact John at buildtools.com. So let's scroll back up here. So I'm looking at Jay Slay's got a question, and I'm just going to read it. So Jay Slay says, And I found that if people want to chat with you, they'll engage in a chat with you. Do you think that engaging with a customer who's just on your website, who is not expecting chat, that can drive them away from your page?
It can.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're talking to. That's true. They are in control. So that will change though, because so many people are using chat to shop, and they're getting used to the fact that when they want an answer, they go to live chat on any website. So you better be there.
Yeah, fair enough. John, have you ever, served an automated message or a proactive message and had someone react like negatively, just really get upset about the fact that you did that to them?
I think so. Yeah, way back in the day, trying to have automated little triggers. It's more important just to recognize the humans coming in.
Yeah, I think with experimentation, you'll find what works and what not. And Jay Slay, it sounds like you may already have a good intuition about, within your industry, what works and what doesn't. And then I think one of the other things you should be looking at too is, some of your back-end data. So if you have your chat transcripts going into a CRM database that can show you which chats are converting, you may want to take a look and see, if 1 out of every 3 proactive chats results in an actual sale, like a good enough qualified lead, then maybe it's worth it that you drove the 2 other people away, because maybe closing that 1 sale is of higher value than the 2 people who got annoyed and left your site. I don't know. You probably have to develop your own system, but you should, as you sort of experiment with what works and what doesn't work, try to come up with a goal for that, maybe even a monetary goal and a way to measure that, and then try it for a week or 2 weeks and see if you can't attach some sort of KPI to that you're trying to achieve. That would be my take on it. Cool. Timothy says, automated pop-up, awesome. Yeah, I mean, hopefully that helps. But Timothy, if you have more questions, and this goes for everybody here, if you have more questions about how to use live chat, we're always available on chat on our website on olark.com. And as we mentioned, John works for buildtools.com. You can go to their website, buildtools.com, and that's John on chat. You can also have a chat with him if you'd like to. Yannick, your question about BJive here, you know what? How about you drop me an email? I'll just drop my email in here. We can check into that for you. I'm not sure why that might be the case, but I know there's been some shuffling of some of those messaging apps that we integrate with. And so drop me an email. I'd love to help you out. We'll get it figured out. John, I just want to go back up, since we have 1 or 2 more minutes here. I just want to go back up to your key takeaways. Do you want to just take us through your key takeaways here as sort of a closing part?
Yes. You can read them right there. Test the increasing your open live chat hours. Do it while you're on your way to work. You may not get a lot of hits, but it may show you people are coming onto your site where you never believed they were. It may not. I mean, and they will send you notes too. When you're not there, the real prospects will send you a note, and that's great. We covered the shortcuts. I think that's critical, because you can hit those so quickly. You can memorize them. You'll use the same shortcuts over and over, and that's an evolution. You can test the email blast, but you better be ready for a reaction, because when that little bottom tab lights up, it's great.
Actually, John, if I can, I thought that was a great point. I'm sorry, that was one of my questions here, but using an email blast and chat in conjunction, I think, is actually a really clever sales and marketing tactic.
Absolutely.
I've talked to, it sounds like you do it. You've had success with it. I've talked to some other companies that do it. And you're just timing, so when an email blast is going out, and then you're making sure you and whoever else maybe can help out is on chat ready, because that's when you see a huge influx in chatters.
Yes, you will. At least you'll see the people that are interested. I have about 7,000 prospects out of a 24,000 database. So they get an email every 2 to 3 months. So I might as well time it while I'm sitting right there and then respond to them. And yes, they're emailing back, to unsubscribe or whatever. I think that's just a courtesy in sales to be there when they are there.
And I'll offer one other tip a trick that you might want to try. So I remember talking to an Olark customer a while back who actually would create custom landing pages for her email blast. So the email blast would go out to however many thousands of prospects, and they would say, we have a new offer that's available. Please go to this landing page. And she was only using chat on the landing page. So many people don't know this or don't understand this, but you can take chat and just put it on one page of your website, or you can go to a platform like Unbounce and put chat onto a specific landing page and only keep it there and not really offer it on the rest of your website. Like maybe you don't want all that noise from the rest of your website, but a couple thousand people are going to go to this one specific spot at this one specific time once the email goes out. And it's good to have chat on that landing page, because as those people come in, maybe they're not so sure they should sign up. They have a question like, what am I signing up for? Or what does this thing do? And so you and your team can answer questions right there in that moment. And, maybe that's like a 2 or 3 hour burst of activity. And then it kind of evens out once the email opens have all happened. But if there's any marketers on the call here or sales teams who rely a lot on email marketing, landing page chat is also a really good way to capture new leads.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you on your key takeaways, John. Sorry.
No, I think that's important. The second to the last, learn from others using live chat. My ear doctor heard me with my Android phone while he was blowing my ears out. He was saying, "What's that noise?" And I said, "That's money." And he was amazed. And he's got 4 locations, 10 doctors. And we both looked at his admin person and said, "What is she doing all day?" She could be answering live chat questions that are very simple. I'm late for my appointment. How do I make an appointment? Things like that, which really is a lot better than phone calls coming in. So I think as you go around, the people that are here in the webinar, if you go around checking where live chat could be, should be, you'll learn from those people too, how they're using it.
Excellent. And then the trust part of it too, I think is so important. I think, and if that's a great parting shot too. I mean, the human element of chat and of doing sales on chat is just so vital for success, right?
I agree. You got to have a rhino hide. It's still sales, really. They can drop you like a hot potato, or they can just amaze you and they're happy. That's all. It's just one other tool.
Absolutely. Well, listen, everybody, that pretty much brings us to the end of our programming for today. So I'll let everybody go to recess now. But if anyone wants to stick around, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to leave the channel open for 2 or 3 more minutes. If there are any more questions, feel free to chat them to us. We'll make sure we get them answered here. Hey, Keith, Infusionsoft integration. I think, so I posted my email just up above in chat. I don't believe we have it currently available, but I think it's on the roadmap. Just drop me a note. Thanks, Graham. Good to see you again. Yeah. And thanks, Timothy. Thanks, Scott. So Keith, just drop me a note and I'd be happy to talk you through it. Either we have it and I don't know about it, but I think it's actually on the roadmap coming up soon. So thanks again, everybody. Once again, we will email you a copy of the webinar recording. It's going to go up on YouTube. And until we talk again, have a great day. I'll keep this line open, but I'm just going to stop this recording. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.